Welcome to the Boricua Culture Mix. I'm one of your hosts, Wilma Lebron Moore.
And I'm Diane Rivera.
And this is where La Isla meets the Diaspora.
Échate pa' acá,
te hice café. Hey girl, hey.
Hola, hola.
Welcome back to episode 7.
Not episode 7.
Yes, girl. We're going to count them down. Season 1, episode 7, we here. Because why? We're consistent.
We're consistent.
We're on it.
It's 2025 is consistent.
That's our word. Ya saben.
Tú sabes
Y guess
que
what?
sí.
Te hice café.
Este café. Listen, I might need another one.
And I got you. I got you if you need another one, babes. I got you. Because I know that that's my rule now, to make you coffee before the pie. That's the secret sauce. That's the sofrito of the pie. Si yo no te hago el coffee, like we're off.
Esto no, exacto. Esto no cuadra. No cuadra.
No cuadra. So, listeners, we have a full-packed show this week. So much to get into. Also, we have additional co-hosts in the background. So please, respect our co-hosts' opinions. They got them. Baby J got a friend. Yes. So we're out here.
It's organic.
Organic. El criollo, como tú dices.
Criollo.
El criollo. So, check in. ¿Cómo tú estás?
Está todo bien. Estresa, pero yo amo.
Muchacha, I get you. It's been a very, very exhausting week. Mm-hmm. Of adulting. Mm-hmm. So I am very glad to have this outlet creatively with you.
Yes.
Baby J sounds like she's trying to escape. I promise you she's just looking outside.
She just wants to be free.
But yeah, it's been a long fight, but it's been also a great week for pod content.
Yes, it has. Right, Jay?
Right, Jay. You agree, baby. You agree. So let's get into that content, okay? So, every week we have told you we are going to be bringing you a nonprofit or an organization that is doing some really good work in the community. And we're still on stateside nonprofits. This week we are bringing you El Concilio in Philadelphia. It is the oldest nonprofit in Philadelphia, started in 1962. It's been around for 60 years. This nonprofit started in the heart of North Philadelphia for a grassroots situation. The influx of demographics of Puerto Ricans in Philadelphia needed a space to cultivate and advocate for themselves after the mishandling of an injustice with a Puerto Rican citizen and the police.
Oh, wow.
They cultivated together in people's basements, very criollo, very grassroots, and they've cultivated El Concilio. And from that, it has grown into the nonprofit that it is in Philadelphia.
Wow. Now
expanding with child welfare agencies and community-based services like after-school program, summer program, and victim witness services. This nonprofit has stand the test of time, and it has some amazing, amazing events coming up, like our annual fiesta.
Oh, I remember that. One year I went to the fiesta. I was working for a broadcasting company. And we had a client, McDonald's, sorry, not sponsored. But they were gonna do an activation with the Concilio in that Hispanic Fiesta. And it was the first time that I experienced like como un festival.
Yeah.
Here in Philadelphia.
That's so cool.
And it was so interesting because coming from the island, like you have like fiesta patronal, you have all the festivals.
So like a little piece of home, right?
Yes. And seeing a lot of people, going and being part of it. Being part of it. It was amazing to see the amount of people that were there. And being part of it, y toda la gente que se unió desde los diferentes compañías, like
even just
it was amazing to see.
So this year, it's not going to be a 2-day festival like it normally is. It's going to be 1 day. They're also partnering with Rauw America, so they're part of that huge multicultural summer programming.
Nice.
So it will be June 28th. At Love Park. So this is also the first time it's going to be at that location as well. Okay. So it's going to be from 2 to 9 at Love Park. And like I said, it's part of the Rauw Welcome America Festival. There's going to be performances, cultural events and exhibits, like you were saying, authentic, artisanal things. And this is where it comes in and why we're giving them a shout out. They're looking for food truck vendors and just vendors, period, to be a part of this year's event.
So que tenga, que sabe hacer la roja,
if you have your stand and you're ready and you want to go, they're looking for you to be a part of this event, as well as they will also be honoring their Concilio scholarship recipients here. That is really, really cool.
That's amazing.
Very much so. So, if you want to be a part of this event for Fiesta, you definitely need to go to elconcilio.net online, go over to their events, and you can register. Or you can go to their Instagram at Concilio Philly, and they will be in their link. You can register for the vending portion or for volunteers because they are looking for volunteers. And Concilio also hosts the annual Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Yes.
That we gave a shout out to last year. So it will be September 28th this year. So just highlighting again a stateside agency that's been doing really great work for over 60 years.
Amazing, amazing. And speaking, I think I have the date here and I don't want to have the wrong information.
Ya tú
But
sabes.
speaking of Festival Puertorriqueño, I think we left out or we didn't have the information at the time for Orlando.
Sí, sí, sí.
Orlando is doing their festival, and I think I want to make sure that I give you guys the right date. So it's actually in April 26th in
that's
downtown
right.
Orlando. Yes. So I think it's next week. or the following?
2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So all the people that hear us from Orlando, from Florida, the Puerto Rican Parade and Festival is happening on April 26th in downtown Orlando.
Excuse me, as I'm over here chomping away. But that's going to be a great time because Orlando's also a huge hub for a bunch of diasporicans.
Yes.
And
It's like
they're
Little Puerto Rico.
So I know they're going to have a good time.
They are.
I know they're going to have.
They always represent.
They always represent. So, like we said before, if you know of a cultural festival including Latinos or Puerto Ricans, let us know so we can give them a shout out. We are super duper excited for all the things that are coming up because, of course, we're looking forward to what happens at the New York Day Parade. We also have the Camden one and Philly in September.
Yes.
Dale.
Dale para allá. Pero ven acá, Wilma.
You're...
Last week you were talking about Rauw Alejandro.
I was.
And Carita Linda came out.
They did.
Your thoughts?
Oh, I got thoughts. I still got thoughts. So, boom, check it. Boom, check it. So, I thought it was going to be a project, but it's actually a song. And he dropped the visuals. And I was waiting and refreshing my Spotify like all day because I was like, where's this project? Where's this project? And I guess he must have dropped the song and the visual at the same time. Like, it was like in the evening.
Yeah.
But he did have a snippet of it during his show.
Okay. Yes,
So,
I saw that.
I heard it, but I couldn't ingest it fully as to like what this. So I wanted to wait because I saw when he had the dancers, the bomberas, definitely out there. And I saw that part. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But like again, the fans are screaming, so I couldn't like really sit down with it. And so I think you texted me that it was out. And so at first I was gonna watch it on my phone, but I was like, no, this deserves a big screen.
Yes.
So I put it on the YouTubes. And I'm watching it, and the visuals are beautiful. Beautiful. And he encapsulates Loíza. Not Piñones.
It's
Loíza. I'm talking about El Conde. I'm talking about Loíza you actually have to like cross into to get to.
Exactly.
Okay? I'm talking about Loíza like legitimate, where all of the artisanal culture is preserved, right? Like the bomberos, the vigilante mask, are made.
It's all the symbolic that he used.
So as I'm ingesting the visuals, I'm not even listening to like really the song.
Yeah.
I'm ingesting the visuals because it was also this beautiful display of AfroBoricua faces. I was just so taken back. It was beautiful. And I just sat there and I was just like, wow, how beautifully done that is. And I got emotional.
Wow.
I did get emotional. And I remember just looking over and being like, this is the culmination of not feeling seen as a Puerto Rican who's a little darker, right? Because I'm not like super dark. If you look at me, I'd probably like a mestiza. But still growing up as la negrita de la casa, right? And seeing like these faces. And then I sat with the fact that we just had an episode where St. John talked about not having this representation in the music scene. And don't get me wrong, one visual isn't going to absolve the music industry of not having it, but it is a good start. And it is also a wonderful way of artists using their platform properly. And yes, I still feel very true in standing of the Bad Bunny effect.
No, you did not.
But it's one of these things that you can't escape it. Once someone does it first, like, no matter what, like, that's just is what it is, right? But I just was sitting there and I had called you and talked about it, and I was just like, that was just extremely beautiful. It was like, this is how you do an homenaje. This is how you do a love letter to this demographic of our culture.
Yeah.
But it was also for us to be like, wow, Josie, estamos haciéndolo también.
Exacto.
Estamos aquí, we're doing it. We're episode 7, and 7 has a very high spiritual calling of a number. We're here.
Yeah.
And it was just this like feeling of like, this is what art does. It makes you feel some shit.
Exacto.
And so I ran it over again so I can finally listen to the words of the song. Because again, the visuals were gorgeous. There's just so many, like, even the spiritual part, like, for those who don't know, like, Bomba en Plena is Puerto Rico's resistance and call to action. But I also feel like that's the heartbeat of our island. That's how we get in tune. When we have those protests, they come out, and I'm just like, yep, the ancestors are connecting. And for those who don't know, Loíza was the point of no return in slavery. That is where Africans, ancestors came off the ships, and they would walk because the water's shallow enough.
It is.
They would walk into Loíza, and it's one of the few almost all black AfroBoricua towns in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
And they're constantly getting messed with. I mean, when I was there in 2019,
like, se ha hecho tan. No todo el mundo tiene la oportunidad de poder entrar a Loíza. Y tú tienes que conocer a alguien. Es como la perla, right? No te van a dejar entrar, pero Loíza tiene algo bien diferente. Y es la esencia. Y cómo quieren cuidarla.
Right. So like I was saying, in 2019, they were protesting because the government wanted to put a McDonald's there. Sí. And they were like, because they make their living doing the cuchifritos, all the stuff. So, and because of that, you know what the government did? They weren't picking up the trash there. On purpose.
Wow.
On purpose. So when we were there, we were able to see like the community was cleaning up after themselves. And I told you that's when I went to see El Conde. And the folks were taking care of Loíza. And we got to do a bomba class in the plaza.
Wow.
I can die happily, y'all. I got to dance bomba in Puerto Rico and Loíza. Can't nobody take that.
Yeah, the whole experience.
Girl, okay? Listen. In the words of my coworker, I am very Boricua. Very Bori.
Bien Bori.
If I can walk and cookies come out my pockets, that would be me. But yeah, so back to the Carita Linda. It was absolutely beautiful. I thought, like I said, it was going to be a project, but it's just a song.
Sí.
The visuals were gorgeous. And, you know, I poke fun in the sense of like, the Bad Bunny effect. But I am very proud of the artists that are putting the culture very first.
Yes.
To the point where I on my way here, I was thinking, I was like, I don't think I've listened to an English-speaking artist since Bad Bunny dropped.
Wow.
Because it's been Bad Bunny, Jay Wheeler, Eladio, Davey, Olmal, girl. Conita. Girl, it's to the point where I have to, the only time I'm speaking English because I'm translating lyrics to my husband. Like, this is what he said. You caught that bar? No, you didn't, because you don't speak the language. Let me run it back for you. Right, because you need to feel this. And then I turn around with anger. Why don't you know Spanish yet?
Hey, listen.
Hey.
He knows.
Okay.
Because dile que te diga quién es Jennifer.
Hey, he do. He was like, yo, let me tell you how this man was like, Mama, what's the governor's name in Puerto Rico? And I'm like, Jennifer. And I'm saying it like, wow, what she do? He was like, no, but y'all like be singing her song. I'm singing her name. I was like, oh, let me tell you the backstory to that. Why that whole weekend he's walking around the apartment, Jennifer Mentirosa. Like, yo, please. Just like when I told him Sana Colita de Rana. He was like, heel like a frog's ass. Why? I said, I don't question the brujeria of my country. I just follow it, okay? I just follow the brujeria. Like, don't question it. It works. And you have to put Viperu with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Eso es lo que te cura.
Exactly.
Eso es lo que te cura.
You don't believe me, but that's what it is. But what were your thoughts on the project?
A mí me encantó. Because like you say, they're putting the culture first. Y for me, I mean, I like, okay, puede ser Bad Bunny effect o influencia, but me encantó que está poniendo la cultura. Y yo creo que es que I think these artists, they went through a pandemic. And I think the pandemic gave them so much time closed in.
They also
that they were
dated 2 colonizers and came back to their country.
You know what? He's never gonna do that. Never. Here goes, Rauw.
Nobody talk to you, but they'll never talk to me. But they did. They dated listen. They dated the women. They came back extra Puerto Rican.
Pero, exacto. Algo pasó. Porque no tienen el sazón. No había sazón.
Ahora todo quiere ser latino.
But you know, yo creo que la pandemia a estos artistas les dio tiempo de compartir en familia, de encontrar su cultura, because they had so much time that there was nothing else to do, right? And I think that when that happened, then after the pandemic, they had to be out, right? They both went on tours. I think, like, you know, they were all over the place. And what happened is that after the pandemic, you're out of your country for so long that then it's like
on top of everything that's happening.
Exactly. So I think that this is a result of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Of them saying like, wow, yo estoy tanto tiempo fuera de mi país que yo me quiero conectar más con mi país.
Yeah.
And I want this for other people, because if I'm feeling this, people from the diaspora is also feeling this.
Yeah.
And how can I make them, you know, give them
that
something?
Connection.
Exactly.
So
I think that's where
that's really, really dope, and I'm glad that he did put that visual out. His concert, girl. So I remember I saw that and I texted you like, damn, I should have got the ticket. And this is why. So from what I've been seeing online, his concert isn't even like a concert. It's like a music theater.
Oh,
the level of intention that he put into it.
Why they were asking for?
Okay, whatever.
Dress code.
It's so funny. It was so. And let's talk about the dress code, because women come to the front of the class,
por favor,
because these men are eating you up. But they're looking dapper. They got the assignment, and y'all look like y'all were the No Child Left Behind children.
No,
are y'all showing up to these concerts in flapper dresses? He said 1960s, not Great Gatsby. Not Great Gatsby. Okay? The way I've looked at the men, and y'all, and you know, and shame on y'all for me having to give props to men. I don't like doing it too often. Women, I want to see better. The way you can have the cinch waist with the nice, oh my God, there's so much 1960s fashion. Why are y'all in flapper dresses and feathers?
The only thing that they know is the Great Gatsby. That's not even 1960. That's what they think it is.
It's giving Great Depression. Okay?
But I think that's what it is. Because I seen a couple of TikToks and I'm like, this is not the theme.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
But I agree. The guys are...
They're killing it. They're killing it. So please, women, I want to see better. I want y'all to look like... Because y'all can be ravishing. Oh my God, the pinned up hair. The pearls.
Yes.
Oh my God, the elegance that y'all can be giving. Y'all are making me mad. But it did give FOMO because I said, I saw mostly like the way he's even signing in his other songs. Like there was a clip of Tengo Punta 40, and it was like a shootout, but it gave like theater. Like I said, it was like almost like, wait, is this a concert?
Right.
So that I will say, I did get a little FOMO of like, damn, I should have fucking brought the tickets. However, we have goals, the budget's the budget, or whatever that man be telling me.
Ya vamos. Cuando Rauw te ve para el concierto, there you go.
We'll see, Rauw Alejandro. However, before we get into it, I also want to give a moment of understanding and a remembrance of merengue legend Rubby Pérez and the tragedy that happened in the Dominican Republic, along with the 200 countless and counting more lives that were lost. RD, y ustedes son nuestros hermanos del Caribe.
Yes.
We understand each other in ways that a lot of other Caribe países may not. Puerto Rico also sent firefighters over to help out with the tragedy. And I hope that there is justice for all those lives that were lost. and the owner, you have some fucking explaining to do.
¿Qué te digo yo? Wilma, tenemos que esperar qué pasó. Like, hay mucho que pasó y hay que ver qué es lo que... Exacto.
Allegedly, for our legal team, aka me, not wanting to be sued. But there were reports that the venue had already gone through a fire.
Sí.
That all they just did was cosmetic, allegedly. Allegedly, because we're not trying to get sued.
Thank you.
But apparently, allegedly, there was just cosmetics that were done, and then like a cement roof with like additional things on top that caused the tragedy. But there was also a clip that Anthony Santos a year ago played there and was like, esto se va a caer. Like, he alluded to that being said when he was there.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, and so all this to say, I know people mean well by saying, oh, Rubby Pérez, he died doing what he loved. That's wild as hell. Exactly. He did not expect to die that night.
Absolutely not.
I'm pretty sure he wanted to do what he loved with his daughter and come the fuck home. So I know that y'all mean well, but that's weird as shit to say. Please just say my condolences. See how you can send some type of donation. Console anyone who you know. But like, that man wanted to do a job and come home. And it's for the inefficiency of whoever did not do their due diligence. Unfortunately, caused the demise of a lot of folks. And I think it's going to change a lot of how like folks do like promoting and booking, because these artists, these Dominican artists, these Puerto Rican legends, they still do tours in like...
They live out of these presentations, presentaciones en estas discotecas.
Yeah, and this is their end state side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the way I be seeing certain posters in North Philly, like, oh, you coming here?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's sad what happened. Muchas familias están siendo impactadas todavía.
And there's some finding folks.
República Dominicana, yo he podido ver, you know, videos y noticias y está todo el mundo pasando por una tragedia. Esto le va a impactar por el resto de la vida. Because that was una discoteca que era bien conocida. Había gente de todas clases sociales. It's sad, right? Because ahora mismo lo último que escuché es que están dándole prioridad a las personas que tienen de clases sociales más altas para los cuerpos, entregárselos a las familias. Y hay otras familias que van a tener que esperar semanas y semanas para poder recibir el cuerpo de su familia. So, you know, desde aquí le mandamos nuestras condolencias. Y esperemos que se haga justicia.
Estamos aquí en la buena y la mala, como dice el refrán, que dice mi mamá, cuando algo sucede, que cuando tú estás con una persona, tú estás con las personas, la buena y la mala, y everything in between.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So from there, okay, speaking of todo quiere ser latino, Shawn Mendes woke up and decided, you know what? This last name has some flavor and I'm going to use it. So he had a concert in Puerto Rico and he decided to use his white allyship very well.
Dios santo.
Guess what he had blasting in the back of his concert? Las playas son del pueblo, which has been the rally cry and protest of Puerto Rico for gentrification. He also had great Puerto Rican artists on stage. He had the pava on. I don't know who baptized him in Puerto Rico. And he came out very jíbaro.
Yo creo que hablamos de... Tú me enviaste un video de este artista, I think an actor,
John Hammond.
Yeah. Y cómo él dice que es un fanático de Bad Bunny por todo lo que está haciendo.
And because they were on SNL 50 together.
Yes. Pero él pudo ver lo que él estaba haciendo con este último disco. And I think eso le ha hablado a otros artistas de que sean más conscientes de lo que está pasando en el país donde se están representando.
Because I'm pretty sure this isn't the first time that he has had a concert in Puerto Rico, right?
No, right.
So I think that it was, one, a great way of showing your allyship, but two, I need other folks to like not melt and drool over this and start handing out Puerto Rican cards. Like, thank you for doing it. We respect that you're using your platform, pero ni siquiera que now we're going to recognize him as one of our own. Because I've been seeing a lot of the fodder on on Twitter of like, yo, he puts on a pava and ustedes se demueltan, like, thank you, right? I want us to recognize thank you, because we had talked about this earlier about how we can be too welcoming. Mm-hmm. And I want us to say thank you for doing that. Thank you for using your platform. Thank you for using your allyship. Respect our island. Go home. Mm-hmm. And let other artists recognize and do that as well. But I've been seeing a lot of folks on the socials being like, oh my God, like, you know, just losing their mind. And it's just like, he literally just had a slogan in the back of his concert. Like, do we know if he did any additional work on the island? Do we know if he connected to any other organizations on the island? Like, I think that we can applaud something too soon. And it's like, the visuals were great. I'm not saying that this was awful. But I also want us to just kind of like calm down a little bit.
But I also think that it could be seen for this people is like, wow, the exposure that this kid has can give the curiosity to his fan base. Yeah. To the people.
The allyship is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Right? Absolutely. So I think like, no como like, oh my God, sí, él es boricua ahora.
Mm-hmm. No. Pero, I want people to like snatch themselves up in that moment.
Yeah, pero también, you know, it's a good thing that he did that, right?
Absolutely.
Because, like, él no tenía por qué hacerlo. Yeah. There was no need for him to be and do that.
What prompted him?
That's the
because,
thing.
Like I said, he's had concerts before. He is a big pop star.
So it could be that he believes, tú sabes, que la gente tenga derecho de que, I mean, I don't know what's his favorite, you know, things to do. It might be that he enjoys his country.
And also Portuguese, too.
Oh, so
I believe his dad is half Portuguese, if I'm not mistaken. So
that could be why.
When he got on the scene, I heard Shawn Mendes, and I was like, "Pero quién es este gringuito with this last name?" And then when I looked him up, he is of Portuguese descent, and he's also American.
Right.
So and then, you know, his career grew up and things of that nature. So I saw it on the redes sociales.
He's Canadian, right?
I didn't even know he was Canadian. But I saw in the redes sociales that, you know, he had the slogan, las playas son del pueblo, and I immediately sent it to Josie. I was like, for the pod! Yes. We have to discuss. And then I started to see even more, because I live on these internet streets, y'all. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started to see the turning of like people just being a little too excited. It was just like, okay, thank you for doing this. I want other artists who are not non-Puerto Rican natives to, you know, get on the same turn. Mm-hmm. But I also want us to, like, not be so easily impressed también. And then maybe not using the proper words in that space.
Yeah.
But, because I feel like también that excitement como que se puede comprar. And I don't want us to, like, get lost in that. Like, yes, thank you for doing that, but also remember that there's also still work to be done.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I hope that his team has done...
¿Qué Shawn Mendes, más allá de dar su voz? Okay, pero no sabemos si lo está haciendo.
We don't know. Right? We don't know.
So, I agree that yo creo que yo se la doy. Y no lo voy a praise, pero se la doy. La doy. Y, you know, no quiero que la gente piense como que, like, oh, ustedes están todas solamente son boricua, tienen que ser boricua. Like, no es eso. Es simplemente de que a mí en lo particular me encantó que lo hizo porque le dio esa...
It was shocking.
Me encantó la exposición. Él no tenía... He didn't have no need to do that.
You know what I thought? I thought Matt Bunny had put an impromptu concert and this man was there. I didn't even know this man was touring. Because I was so confused. I said, but why is Shawn Mendes in a pava on the stage? And then the bomberos was in the background. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, no, but you know what? Like, this speaks a lot about his team. Because he went to Puerto Rico. He did a concert in Puerto Rico. And his team was aware of what was going on in the island. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So that speaks a lot about his team.
Yeah.
Him as an artist.
Bad Bunny lo subió en sus redes sociales también.
Yeah. I mean, I think en la posición de que lo está usando. I think ese es el granito de arena que pudo hacer.
When he was with Camila Cabello, who is Cuban, le pasó la cultura también.
Dios santo.
Allegedly.
¿Qué dijo?
So, from one artist to another, and you know what, Josie, like, it's crazy that this podcast keeps unraveling and we keep doing the music thing, but music is also so heavily influenced in our culture.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of a great artist, influenced heavily in our culture,
San Benito
Martinez Ocasio came out, which I told you.
You sure did. You sure did.
I was on the Benito watch, and I knew that he was going to be doing something with NPR around February. And I said it.
Yes, you did.
I said, look out for it.
You sure did.
Okay, my little bruja vibes was on it. And he did a wonderful NPR tiny desk.
Bello.
Bellísimo. But before
No puedo
that,
ser, ¿cómo se dice? Neutral en esto.
oh, absolutely not. Please. It's our podcast. We can say what we want. Literally. That's why we started it. But before we get into him, let's give a shout out to all the musicians that were with him on the tiny desk.
Yes.
They are
Luis Sanz, en el cuatro puertorriqueño. Fabiola Méndez.
Yes, who had just done her own in September.
Yes, que también estaba usando un cuatro puertorriqueño. Y también era los background vocals para el Tiny Desk. También estaba Emanuel Santana. Él estaba haciendo las maracas. Estaba haciendo el pandero de la plena. Julio Gastón.
Yes.
He was in the conga.
And he was also in the La Mudanza video.
Yes, so a lot of these are, I think most of them, I don't know, I don't want to quote Fabiola in this, but I know most of the
artists that were there.
Yeah, they were part of the project of Debí Tirar Más Fotos as well. Luis Ahmed Irizarry en el piano, and Jay Antonio en los bongos en la percusión. Y claro está, Cristal Santana en el bajo, y también estaba haciendo voces en el background.
Yes. So, what were your thoughts about the Tiny Desk in general before we get into so many gems that were in that?
So, when I first saw it, when I dropped, I saw it and I was like, wow. And you know what? I was no quiero que se pueda interpretar mal, pero I was more excited for the artist than Benito.
Really?
Because for me, it was like, wow, he's using his platform to give opportunity to other people. Other people that might not ever have the exposure o la oportunidad de hacer un NPR and Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
You know, like Fabiola tuvo esa oportunidad, pero otros artistas
No, otros no, yeah.
You know,
and also they're new, like a lot of them are new.
Son nuevos, son estudiantes de la Escuela Libre de Música.
Exacto.
Y you know, la oportunidad que les está dando es como que, like, si tú quieres hacer esto, you can do it.
Yeah.
¿Entiendes? Le está como impulsando a hacer eso. That's why I was more excited for seeing the other artists than him, to be
For
very
me,
honest.
it's the breadcrumbs that come with the Tiny Desk or come with some unplugged arena because you get a lot of the background. But something que me dio tanto fucking orgullo boricua es cuando Benito dijo, viva Puerto Rico libre. Después de alguien lo dijo in the audience.
Yes.
And it was just like, this is how you feel. There's no backtracking it. Because I think that some people have tried to like pigeonhole him and being like, no, he said it. It dawned on him in that moment, like, sí, vive Puerto Rico libre y soberano. And I was just sitting there like, looking around like, he said that. He really said that. Like, okay, did everybody catch that?
Yeah.
And it was this like confirmation. Sí, pero at the end of the day, he's still an artist too.
Yeah,
and there's still things.
I think he was very vocal.
But there's one that phrase is a call to action.
Absolutely.
So for me, I knew where he aligned already, especially during the Puerto Rico's last election. But to say that is to be like, okay, estamos alineados. This is how we feel.
Yeah.
There is no backtracking. This is the firm understanding. And granted, he's been at protests during 2019 with Ricky para renunciar. He's been vocal, but it was just like, oh yeah, that's it. That is it right there. That was such an amazing thing to catch. As well as he spoke mostly all in Spanish, and he was like, oh yeah, I can speak in English. Yeah, okay. But I love when he keeps it in Spanish. I love it because it's just like, tú sabes qué? These people gonna figure it out. Figure it out.
Yeah. Y que está poniendo, su cultura al principio. Dice, this is me.
Y me encantó lo que
dijo
with the backstory of lo que pasó en Hawaii. The fact that he said that he had this dream gnawing at him and he wrote the lyrics out. And I was like, wow. And you know what? I don't know what it is about alignment in the world, but I'm a firm believer that todos tenemos regalo. And there is times when the universe is like knocking at you and being like, hey, there's something for you to do. Because that song on that album is so impactful.
Oh, yes.
And I'm talking about from the moment I heard it the first time, La Lágrima que me salió, especially paired with the video that he had put out prior to the whole project dropping. And I'm very big on like the universe knocks on you to get things done. And if not you will miss your time and it will go somewhere else because the universe does not wait for you.
Wow, mamá, pero es que tú siempre tirando cositas aquí que se me paran los pies.
And another thing that between both the Bad Bunny NPR and with Rauw, I think that's what also got me super emotional was like growing up, we were always made fun of for preserving the culture. Remember, like I'm a Diasporican, right? You came here as an adult already. Pero I remember lo que vienen reciente. Ay, mira, tú sí eres bien jíbara.
Yes.
Right? And like how, or tú tienes la mancha de plátano encima. Yeah. And like, esos refranes, so it was this force of like, you're here now. Right. That's over there.
Yeah.
And to see the visuals and see everything being like, espérate, esto es nuestra cultura, esto es nosotros para preservar, and if we don't, it will be gone.
Absolutely.
And so, quote, flaco nevaja, slam poet, to be Puerto Rican is to be fly, but to be Boricua is so much fly. And he ain't talking about just being born on the island. Yep. He's talking about preserving your culture. And it was just like, yo, I swear if I could have got up and started singing La Borinqueña right then and there, I would have. I would have, okay? But, okay, I've been yapping all my life. Your full other thoughts about the NPR Tiny Desk.
No, yo creo que tú lo dijiste bastante bien. Para mí, como te digo, like, I got more emotional seeing the artists haciendo lo que ellos saben. El cuadro puertorriqueño.
It's so beautiful.
It was amazing. You know, like, verlo ahí como centro.
The anecdote he said about playing in front of the White House. With
yes. Tú sabes, so, ver eso y ver el cuadro puertorriqueño como la figura principal. It was amazing. It was super amazing. El hecho como él está usando su plataforma.
It has been the most watched premiere Tiny Desk to date.
Yes. So, tú sabes, lo que hizo fue otra cosa.
Yeah.
Y demuestra otra vez, tú sabes, el tipo de artista que quiere ser.
Can we get to his fashions too?
Me encanta. I think I mentioned it to you. I was like, mira la camisa. I don't know if it was Roberto Clemente.
No, it wasn't. So it's this because I thought it was too.
Yeah.
I thought it was too because he was seen at the Cangrejos baseball game this week.
He owns it.
Because that'd be on the Betty Watch.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It's a brand called Bold or Bold. You know, don't quote me because I'm not a fashion house girly. But it's basically like wearable art because it was gorgeous. Sí. But I was more so la gorrita. It has St. Bart's. St. Bart's, the actual thing, and the West Indies. And he's been wearing that hat for a while.
Mira que Wilma está ahí.
Okay.
Está cogiendo.
He's been wearing that hat. And guess where you can buy that hat?
Where?
At St. Bart's.
Wow.
Because it is literally from like their merchant shop. So it's not like with like lids, New Era. It is literally from the thing. And so like I was looking at the fact that it says St. Bart's and West Indies, and I was like, por algo lo está poniendo. Is it because it's comfortable? Is it because this is another like ode to being like, hey, I'm talking about Puerto Rico and everything else, but also all of our islands has had some form of colonization in a way. But he's been wearing it a lot. I believe he also had it on the campaign for Calvin Klein, if I'm not mistaken. For those who were not paying attention to anything else he was wearing besides his underwear, he had it on. I think he had it on the day he was filming, and he had it on his Instagram. Socias asquerosas, desgracias. And we still need your submissions. But yeah, so that's what he had on Tiny Desk. And so as we segue over to what our main conversation is going to be for this, we want to leave you with some conversation about what he had to say about the political landscape of Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And from that, I want to then give you the next platform of what we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely. Let's hear
what
Benito had to say.
Okay, so we're going to leave you with some words from San Benito about the Puerto Rican landscape and how he feels, and then we'll segue into what the rest of this episode will be about.
En el país de ellos no son los dueños de Puerto Rico por estar en el Capitolio, ellos son nuestros empleados. Tú lo pusiste ahí con tu oro. Sácalo para el carajo. Si tú ves que estás jugando por lo mismo por 20 años, ves que tu alrededor no es como tú lo quisieras, sácalo, carajo, brother. Ya es hora. Creo que ya es hora. Hay mucha gente que trabaja por este país, que ama Puerto Rico. Tanta gente que todos los días hace da su alcance para mejorar y él no siga metiendo el pie, brother. Esta semana yo vi todo.
And so I believe he was talking about that during last year's elections. And so we're going to segue with a breakdown of the political landscape of Puerto Rico and all of the political parties and affiliations and their belief system. We want to give you this education because we've talked a little bit about that throughout our episodes, and we've sprinkled in our biases because we have them and what we feel. But we also want to make sure that we're giving you the education in the best way that we know how, and to also make sure you dig a little deeper as Diasporicans. And for those who are on the islands who think that la política no le afectan, la afectan. It's around you. So with that, we will get into all of the political landscapes and segue into the next portion of the show.
Absolutely.
So we took a quick little break. I needed to refresh my
Es que estás hablando mucho.
I'm being a yaposaurus over here. However, comma. Wait, we never got into your however, comma story.
Oh
from
my
last.
God, that's right.
Please tell them what happened.
Can you believe? I'm in a meeting. I'm doing a training on my job. And I have to say, I'm like, well, however, and I was going to say, however, comma, and I'm like, I froze. Yo me quedé frisa, and I'm like, and I started laughing. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was going to say something that I shouldn't. And I was like, I will be back. So it was just like crazy, me using the however, comma, the influence that you have, that I was over here, however, comma, in my training at work.
You should have told him that.
I was like 2 seconds to add that however, comma.
And listen, the reason why Josie stopped herself, she works in very corporate America, so it's not well received as it is when I use it in my nonprofit sector of work. But I would have loved for her to said, however, comma, y'all got me effed up in this meeting, and that would have been great. But Josie's not going to do that.
No.
Diane would.
No, you're absolutely right.
Diane would.
You're absolutely right with that one.
Segueing over, we have some stuff for you today.
¿Qué tú vas a hablar?
Ooh, child. So me and Josie were talking in our research about the pod, and we are 6 episodes in, bro. 6.
How?
Consistency and pure audacity.
You know what? This is what I love. You know what? 2025 is como tú dices. Look at us, because we're going to say that in every single podcast,
Look
guys.
at us, because I'm amazed.
Look at us.
I'm amazed.
Look at us.
Every Tuesday when the episode drops, I'm like, yo, we did it.
We did that.
The sense of accomplishment I feel for us is so cool.
Yep.
But I was talking with Josie, and we have introduced a lot of topics and a lot of conversations and passion regarding Puerto Rico, the island, and the connection to the East End. We've dropped little gems of certain things, political parties and affiliations, and specifically when we're talking hella crap about.
I'm sorry. Yo, you're talking so serious in this podcast, and I'm over here just listening to the outside noise.
My husband, Baby J.
You're not gonna say that. You're not gonna say that. Are you gonna say it? You're gonna say it. No,
Yes,
you're
my
not.
husband,
No, you're
Baby
not.
J, and our fiance are now all taking naps. And we could just hear them snoring in the background, living their best lives prior to freaking recording.
No.
Josie lives in an area with asthmatic squirrels because they were loud as hell on her porch. It was so much overstimulation happening.
Welcome to my world.
I was like, what is that sound? She was like, I think it's a squirrel. I was like, sounding like that? Why does it need an asthma pump? Like, wowzers.
Oh wow. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
back.
We go back.
Right. So, in a serious tone.
Yes.
In my reportera.
Oh, go ahead.
In my serious tone, we wanted to discuss some things about Puerto Rico regarding its political structure, especially because we play around with the governor, calling her Jennifer Mentirosa, to the point where my husband literally sat down and was like, yo,
I was going to say that. I was like, no se hace embustera.
He was like, yo, what's the name of the governor of Puerto Rico? And I was like, why? He was like, don't you always like talk about her on the pod? And I was like, oh yeah, Jennifer. And then I literally was like, Mentirosa. He was like, why y'all always singing her song? So I had to like show him the feed of like Bad Bunny saying it, and he was cracking up. And then he wouldn't shut up. He kept singing it all freaking weekend. Like,
you know what? I'm so proud of us.
We're educating
over here.
Educating
You know what? The fact that he knows Jennifer Mentirosa, no se hace embustera.
And then I had to also educate him on the word embustera.
Oh.
Because I was like, mentirosa is like the real like word to say liar. I said embustera is the Puerto Rican way of saying liar. I said that's our slang. I was like, when somebody say embustero, they're calling you a liar. But, however, that is not in the Spanish way from the colonizer. That is our little sofrito of the word. So it was a beautiful teachable moment at our household.
I love that. You know what? Like, look at us. Look at us. Educating people here.
Okay. All right, but.
And speaking of educating, what are you going to talk about?
Woo, child. So. I forget what episode it was that we talked loosely about. It may have been the last one about like, you know, like what powers the governor has in regards to like going to DC and really fighting for Puerto Rico. Yep. And so I wanted to discuss with the listeners a brief overview of what political parties are at Puerto Rico, because I remember us talking about it briefly on the pod that our political parties on the island are really governed and ran by the status of what Puerto Rico should be. And so, with that being said, I'm going to give it to Josie to talk about the first political party. And then because there's about, 4 or 5?
I think there's like 4, 5?
Yeah,
5.
4 or 5. Yeah. So, I will give it over to Josie so that she can give you a brief overview, and then we'll go back and forth.
Yes, okay. So, como aquí estamos para educar, para aprender, un poquito de todo, right? Y pasarla bien. So,
main point, para pasarla
bien. Para pasarla bien, para entender qué es lo que está pasando en la isla y cómo nosotros nos podemos educar. No importa si no vivimos en la isla, si tú vives en New York, en Orlando, en Chicago, o Puerto Rico, esto también nos toca a todos.
Exactly.
Todos tenemos que saber de qué se componen los partidos políticos de Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we all have a responsibility to know what the political party and structure is on the island, and even here stateside, right? So like we're talking about Puerto Rico, but remember, this is a copy and paste for you for wherever you live at, so that you can also recognize and do a little research of what's happening where I live.
Absolutely.
So what's the first political party for Puerto Rico?
So el partido más conocido ahora mismo que a lot of us digo, porque mucha gente que no reconocía or knew about the different parties that Puerto Rico had. We learned this one from Bad Bunny. And is el Partido Nuevo Progresista.
PNP.
El PNP.
Or PNP.
PNP. So, el PNP es el partido que quiere que Puerto Rico sea el estado 51.
So, it's basically the party that is really fighting for statehood for Puerto Rico to be the 51st state.
Ahora mismo, fue el partido que ganó las últimas elecciones del 2024 y Jennifer González, su presidenta.
So Jennifer González, or Jennifer the Liar, as we constantly keep singing, she is the governor and she's the one who won the last political party's race in 2024.
However,
I like the use of that.
You know what? I'm using it. Can we talk about what happened this week in Puerto Rico with her?
Absolutely.
So she was doing this. Okay, first of all, she's celebrating the first 100 years of her as the governor of Puerto Rico.
Oh, so her first 100 days, which is usually reflected for a president. Their first 100 days.
Yes. She's going to do a gala.
I mean, what is she celebrating? Like, what did she do that's so great?
100 years of being in power.
100 days, you mean?
100, oh my God, 100 years. Why you don't know what that?
100 days of her and being corrupt.
I don't know that.
Allegedly. We're gonna sprinkle it.
Please.
Allegedly.
Not the cease and desist letter. We're gonna get it.
So she wants to, and is this unheard of?
What do you mean unheard of?
Like, is this what normally happens in Puerto Rico? Or
Yo
this is
no
something
sé.
that she's
This is the first time I'm hearing that somebody's celebrating 100 days.
Especially when her last press conference, she said there might be even more blackouts.
Right.
Great. Okay. So this is basically a big pat on the back of nothing really being done for the island.
But if you want to go, you have to pay.
So it's really a fundraiser, which is kind of a playbook of that man in office, right? Like, bueno. Okay.
Bueno.
So she's putting that together to celebrate 100 days of what?
And you have to pay $1,000 per ticket to be part of the galas to celebrate the 100 years of Jennifer Gonzalez being the president, the governor of Puerto Rico.
Save your money.
So
you guys pay $1,000 for a country that mostly gets paid federal minimum. Girl, please.
No,
don't
not even
started.
that. The fact that there is a lot of things going on in the island, and this is priority. I don't know. We will talk a little bit more of that later on when that happens, because we need to discuss that a little bit more.
Also, there is a movement similar to 2019 for her to be resigned.
Yes.
There is a big movement for Jennifer Renuncia. So we're going to be on that.
Yes.
We're going to be on it. Because if we want to transport to 2019, I'm there, baby. Let's go. So dime más del PNP.
Pues del PNP, ¿qué te cuento?
Muchacha.
Desde que llegaron, ¿qué está pasando con ellos? Están metidos en bochinche.
¡Qué bochinche!
Desde que su familia política fue señalada por construir ilegalmente cerca de la playa, que escuchamos eso, entonces, people are saying, ¿será esto corrupción o qué? ¿Qué es lo que está pasando con el PNP? El PNP sigue pushing for statehood, pero mientras tanto, la gente está pidiendo acción real para los problemas de aquí. ¿Qué son los problemas? Housing, healthcare y hasta el environment. So hay muchas cosas que están pasando en la isla que la gente de la isla le está pidiendo. There's a lot that has to be fixed here.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot.
And also, I wanted to interject that, like, political parties on the island separate families.
They sure do.
Like, people have gotten into fist fights over political party affiliation.
It's crazy because my mom was was one party, and my dad was another party.
Wow.
So it was crazy.
Talk about opposites attract.
Insane.
So these newbies who are like, oh, people don't want to talk to me because of my political affiliation. Bro, Puerto Rico's been doing this for mad long.
For years.
Mad long.
Okay.
And it was aquí crazy. Viene tu tío PNP.
Y aquí viene tu tío popular. No le hables de la pava, porque empieza el chisme.
Right.
So it was crazy. Like, this has always been, like, even in los pueblos. My mom, she moved to, like, we live in Ponce, and Ponce was very red. Partido Popular Democrático. And we're going to talk a little bit more of what they do.
So what you're saying is PNP kind of resembles the Republican Party.
Correct.
In the States. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I always remember that every time that politics, the year of election would come up, child. The amount, it's not arguments, but yes, but it was so crazy to see the different, visions or views of my dad and my mom in the house of how we should vote.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My first vote was a very bad vote, but it was because I was instructed to vote for that because I didn't know that. What the parties were, what they stand for. Yeah. I just my mom is this, well, I'm going to do the same thing. Well, my dad is that, I will do this too. So I was just interested in it. A lot of families in Puerto Rico were like that. Yeah. You grew up being PNP, you have to go PNP. Right. You grew up being popular, you have to stay popular. So it was just interesting.
And similar statewide, right? Like being Republican or
Absolutely.
being Democrat. I want to say politics is something that I introduced to our family. Like we did because my mom and dad living stateside, it was kind of this laissez-faire, I don't really have to get involved in this type of thing. This is something that's decided for me.
Right.
It wasn't until I believe it was George Bush, because I think was that the first. What year was that? Because I feel like that was my first.
The first year you voted?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So because I turned 18 still in high school because my birthday's in February.
Got it.
And I want to say that was for that that year, me talking to my mom, and not the first Bush term, the second one.
Okay.
Because that was the one that was the controversy because it was decided at the Supreme Court.
Got it.
And I just remember taking my mom with me or my sister, because my dad would talk politics statewide, but moviéndose from then on, I do remember for all the other elections, me or my sister taking my parents and being you're gonna go.
You're gonna vote, yeah.
They voted for Obama, and so we were pretty much a very democratic household.
Got it.
Stateside, but my dad, left Puerto Rico when he was 14, so he has no connection in the sense of ever voting for that.
Got it. Yeah, for that
space.
part.
And my mom left when she was 21, so that level of understanding Puerto Rican politics in the space is something that they're hearing funneled through the news.
Got it.
They didn't live it because they left the island pretty young to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So, yes, baby J, she's waking up. But that's how long we've been yapping. She's literally slept through a whole nap. But back to your point to El Partido de PNP. After that, what is the second most popular political group in Puerto Rico?
Yep. So, El Partido No Progresista, just to put a little bit of colors there, the blue.
So that's PNP.
That's PNP. And then you have the Partido Popular Democrático.
PPD.
Yep, they stand for Partido Popular Democrático. Jesus, I can't speak today. So, el Partido PPD quiere que Puerto Rico siga como está, que es un estado libre asociado.
So this political party pretty much is fighting for Puerto Rico to stay a sovereign Commonwealth status.
Sí, but con más poder.
So with more power.
Yep. En las últimas elecciones, que fueron en el 2024, no les fue bien.
They lost, in the last 2024 election.
Están tratando de reconectar con la gente because no están conectando mayormente con los jóvenes, porque los jóvenes no se sienten representados por ellos.
So they're trying to connect with the young demographic, and I'm pretty sure that's probably the newly able to vote 18 to 24
Correct.
demographic.
Yep.
And they're kind of seen as the old way, right? The old guard. And so that disconnection with the youngsters would make sense, especially with Gen Z. Gen Z is very tapped in into more progressive.
Yeah. They're more informed.
They're more, it's the age of super information. When we grew up where these social media platforms were just getting on. They grew up with these things already being in existence.
Correct. Yep. So, they have more power of knowledge in that sense. So, estos dos partidos políticos son los que siempre han estado.
Right.
So, son los de siempre.
So that would be your Republican and Democratic Party.
Yep.
They've always been there.
Yep. But then, tú tienes los nuevos.
Ay.
Los nuevos que han entrado. However, I have to take this one separately because es el Partido Independentista Puertorriqueño.
Or PIP.
Yep. So, el PIP, como le llaman, o el PIP, lleva años luchando por la independencia de Puerto Rico.
Oh, so this is the Independence Party.
Yes. En el 2024 hicieron algo distinto. Ellos se unieron a otro partido que nació.
So they joined forces with another political party.
Yep. Y que se llama Movimiento Victoria Ciudadana.
So MVC, Victoria Movement Citizen.
Yep. Y lo que hicieron fue una alianza, que lo llamaron la Alianza del País.
So the alliance of the country.
Yep. Su candidato en el 2024 fue Juan Dalmau, que aunque no ganó, they got a lot of support. Especialmente de los jóvenes, de los artistas.
Bad Bunny,
Y activistas que quieren un cambio de verdad.
So they garnered a lot of support within the young political party, artists, as well as just a lot of folks that are trying to garner a lot of change for the country. And I want to say that in this political party, El PIP has gotten closer than has ever gotten in any other elections before.
Yes. That's right.
And it was also faced with a lot of false information, attacks with fake news, because this is the political party that was the boogeyman, right? Like, they want to make this a socialist country.
Exactly.
Juan Dalmau is...
Fueron los de siempre.
Right.
Fueron los partidos de los de siempre que estaban creando esa mala información.
Right. Like, he wants to make this like Venezuela, and you know, so those were the tactics that were being used against him because they saw the rise of this political party.
Absolutely. I remember when, and I think we were talking this off the pod, that when I was in college, literally like my first year in college, I was 17, and I remember que la Comisión Estatal de Elecciones, so I don't know how to translate that in English.
What was that? The Electoral College Commission?
Yes. So they went to, you know, my college, and they had a whole day there that you can go and get your your vote registration.
Yes, your voter registration. So
and
so they made it super easy.
Super easy. And this last, you know, the last election, it was so hard for people to get their own.
But also think about the music scene, right? Because what was the driving song for folks to go get their voter registration? Reggaeton, sácala,
dale, úsala, no le tengan miedo.
Nueva sangre.
Yes.
How freaking genius, right? This marketing. And that was the campaign, because they were all over the island, freaking La Plaza de la America, right? You can go, like, they were literally, prior to the elections, hosting places where folks can go and get
but it was very
registered
hard.
to vote.
It was very hard for the young crowds that it was their first time voting to get that, you know, vote registration. It was very, very hard. But speaking of new partidos or parties.
And if you hear the microwave going on, we have to feed our co-host Baby J by law.
You're right.
There
you go.
Getting her lunch made.
Yep, she does. But one of the big ones that came out of this alliance, how we mentioned, was Movimiento Victoria Ciudadana.
MVC.
And how can we describe that?
Well, get into it, because I've never really heard of this. I've heard of the first three before, but I've never really heard of this. So get into this, Joseph.
So this one, I can describe it. I'm going to say it in Spanish.
Okay.
Es como un pana que no aguanta más la corrupción.
Oh, so it's like a homie who's like, corruption, we ain't on there.
I'm done with that. Yeah.
That was yesterday.
Yeah. So some, like, their message is like justicia social, transparencia, y que el gobierno sea para la gente.
So their message is more like social justice, transparency, and the government should be representative of the people.
Y no para los panas políticos.
And not for the homies of the politicians.
Porque estamos cansados de eso.
Because we're over it.
Pero ellos han enfrentado un montón de obstáculos.
Oh, a lot of obstacles.
Incluso hasta ataques legales.
Oh, not law. So they've been in legislation. Why?
Bueno, es que hubo tanto ataque a las personas que estaban dentro del movimiento que hizo que el movimiento perdiera fuerza.
Okay, so like that's how basically they got like shortcomings because of all of the legal stuff.
Correct.
A lot of the prominent folks in the movement was just like F this type of thing. Got it.
Pero la gente lo sigue apoyando.
Okay, so they still have something going on.
Yes. Yeah, porque it represents like a new way of doing politics.
Gotcha.
Right? Because like, yo, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Like, we
people
need
are fed
to do
up.
better.
People are fed up. And they're looking for a different way.
And then, hay uno que apareció hace unos pocos años que se llama...
Weirdos.
We're here to inform.
Okay. You here to inform. I got opinions.
So we have Proyecto Dignidad.
Okay, so this is Project Dignity. Already in the name, don't like it.
So, se puede describir como que es un tiene una visión bien conservadora.
Super conservative.
Super conservative. Están basados en valores cristianos.
So they're steeped in Christian values.
Yep. Están en contra del aborto.
They're against abortion.
A favor de leyes más estrictas en temas sociales.
More strict laws within other social topics.
Y tienen gente, pero ya tienen gente en la legislatura. Like, gente que ha ganado y está en el Capitolio, en la legislatura, representando este partido, ya tiene presence.
Right. So there's presence already from this political party already that probably didn't run as Proyecto Dignidad. Like, they probably ran as other parties, but they've affiliated themselves with this particular party.
Yep.
And they've already won seats within Puerto Rico's political landscape.
Yes. So, para algunos, son una opción bien firme. Ellos quieren como que este partido tenga más, like, known, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Para otros, representa como que ir para atrás en derechos civiles.
Yeah. So they're trying to get a more firm grip,
Yeah.
but for others, this would be a rollback of a lot of civil liberties.
Yeah.
Within the island, and this is the one that gives my spider senses tingling.
There we go.
Because of the fact that it's seeped in the Christian values. What they're not saying is white national Christian values.
Woma.
No, I mean,
It
listen,
depends on who you ask.
it's the pipeline. It really is the pipeline. For anybody who's been on social media, you know that if you go deep in rabbit holes, you will eventually find these super rigid pipelines that lead to a white national Christian value that's dressed up in a way that's palatable, right? We all know that a lot of Latin American countries have been colonized, and most of the main religion is like Catholicism and things of that nature. This right here, like I said, it gets my spidey senses tingling because it is purposely looking for that young demographic to be swept in. And if you've seen anything with American politics, in the rise of like this new age Christianity, this trad wife life, this they all lead to these pipelines of super white Christian nationalist views veiled in conservatism and traditional values. I want to tell you something. There's no such thing as traditional values. Okay?
Well,
There's no such thing. That daddy who was able to sustain your household, your mom couldn't vote. Your mom couldn't open up a bank account without your dad. No, I'm serious. Prior to like 1970, your mom could not. Yeah. The reason why Granny and Mr. Earl stayed together because Granny didn't have no rights. Granny couldn't go nowhere. Because up until the 1970s, your daddy, your granddaddy could beat your grandme's ass as long as it wasn't with something as bigger than their thumb. The rule of thumb, that's what that comes from, right? And when they would come to your home, they'd say, hey, take this inside. There was no domestic violence units. There was no victims' rights units, right? So all of this is an encompassing of these glorified traditional values of the 1950s that didn't exist. Because guess what? Who didn't have rights in this time? People of color. So they want to go and remake this version of this a beautiful idyllic society that never existed for everyone. And so that's why it's important that you research, that you think of these things, and that's why it's also important to do a very good assessment of who you are and what you think you look like. Because we've talked about it before. White supremacy don't come up in the hood no more. It shows up with this aspiration to a whiteness that doesn't exist.
But that's why it's important to, like you said, research, inform yourself, and, you know, educate. Y por eso estamos aquí, para educar. Right?
And also, too, like, you know, challenge and, think critically. You know, that friend that just wants you to go to their church so bad. Why? Think about it. Why do they want me to go? Because there's a big play with religion. And I'm here to let you know that religion is faith is a beautiful thing. It is absolutely gorgeous to have a amazing relationship with God. But it is not one to always be publicized. And there is a need for private with your walk with God and whatever God that may be. Be very leery of those who need you to come to their church so bad, because those are the ones that need to be collecting souls for Jesus like it's a game. and is not necessarily really involved with your love and involvement with God.
Wow.
And these Hillsongy churches and things of that nature, like, they come with their stuff too.
Broma. Párate, que me
Allegedly.
está yendo para otro tema. Se me está yendo para otro tema.
Allegedly, but like, this is what I really like. That particular political party really like rubbed something wrong with it because of the research that we did. Like, they're focusing on that young demographic, that very malleable demographic. Because guess what? That demographic don't got their biscuit fully cooked in their head. Because it's very impressionable, right? You got to think that 18 to 24 demographic.
That's the impression. Yes, it is.
It's very impressionable. And look of the type of world that they're coming into. Think of the promise they can give them, right? If you join us, look what we can give you, right? It's very, very important. So all this to say, this is what is governing our island. For the Diasporicans, it's not too far and not too distant to what governs the states. Right?
Yeah.
That was
very similar. It's very similar.
Very similar.
Yep. But there's more parties, right? I think that's what I like to see. What I like to when talking about this and educating our the people about like the different parties that we have. It's like it's so interesting to see that there is a diverse of opinion, right? Of beliefs, and que tú te puedes educar y encontrar like which one you align the most.
Yeah, because here in the States it's like pretty much your Republican, your Democrat, and independent, Green Party, like, but they're very, very small, very small. But like your main two stakeholders has always been Republican,
absolutely,
and even within the Republican Party now, you can see a divide where it's like Republican or Trump,
right?
MAGA, right? Like that. It's there's a branch, and I quote me here, in a few years I will not. I think we could probably see some type of third from that Republican Party, like branch off. Yeah. Because they definitely have stepped very far into their beliefs of what the Republican Party used to be. Yep. But it's important for us to bring you this information to the pod because we're going to be touching on topics from the island, and they're rooted in these core political parties. And so it is important to give you that foundation and baseline so that you back home in the States can feel connected, because politics could be scary. Politics could feel like, I don't want to dip into it. I don't want to definitely, I may not know too much of it, but it is involved in all parts of our lives, and it's important for you to be informed. If anything, this pod is a building block of information to inform.
Yes. Porque, la política de Puerto Rico está cambiando, como la del mundo, because it's changing everywhere.
And fast.
Super fast. Y hay partidos nuevos. Hay partidos where you can identify yourself, right? I know Wilma's, is very strong with her opinions. But also we want to respect.
Everyone should be.
Absolutely. But we also want to respect, right? Like, we might not have the same views with things, but we want to make sure that, we como lo escuchamos. Nos escuchamos nosotros mismos y nos respetamos al mismo tiempo.
Yeah.
Y por eso es que estamos trayendo esta conversación, right? Que hay nuevos partidos, hay alianzas raras. Yes, they are. Pero hay gente nueva, hay gente joven metiéndole a la conversación como nosotros y como otros. So, aunque a veces la política feels like frustrating or boring, if we don't get involved, we're letting others decide for us.
Right. We're going to be definitely ran by folks that don't represent us. And I know even now, stateside, it feels very scary because since that man's been in office, it's been topsy-turvy. The same thing goes to our island, right? And for folks who are governing there is a clip about Jennifer's governorship on TikTok that we had saw of this young guy pretty much explaining, like, if you think this isn't happening, please let me show you how is it happening. And what's the creator's name?
The creator's name is I'm Ricky Talavera.
On TikTok, on the Clock app. Yep. So it's a about 2-minute clip. We're gonna leave you with this, what he says, and then closing out the pod.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is what I want to say with this is that we want to continue to bring, more of these topics, but we also want you guys to be informed of what's happening and how can we get involved,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So aquí le dejamos un poquito de lo que dijo
Miren aquí cuando
nuestro,
se hizo
sorry, lo que dijo I am Ricky Talavera on TikTok.
campaña. Ay, ya saben por dónde vengo, ¿verdad? Se dijo que Puerto Rico se convertiría en el próximo Cuba, en el próximo Venezuela, en una dictadura. Que Puerto Rico se separaría de Estados Unidos y se iría flotando y se uniría a Rusia y a China. Pues mira, es que la dictadura se está forjando frente a tus ojos y tú no te has dado cuenta. ¿No te has dado cuenta que aquellos que te prometieron democracia te están entrando a la dictadura por la cocina? ¿No me crees, verdad? Pues déjame explicarte. Ustedes ven esta carta que está aquí. Esta carta es la resolución a la solicitud de certificación de prensa del señor José L. Lebrón Rosa.
No es mi
Esta
primo.
resolución dice que la comisión concluyó que el solicitante puede continuar ejerciendo sus funciones sin la obtención de una certificación de prensa. Pero ¿a qué viene esta resolución? ¿A qué viene esta solicitud? Pues mira, vamos a leer toda la historia y gracias a Linda Dulcinea por este post en Twitter.
But I have to mention and I have to stop this because I
Por
love
este post en
how
Twitter.
there is a reporter, her name is Linda Dulcecina, and her post says, la dictadura de Jenny Maduro. Ahora atenta contra la libertad de prensa. Quiere limitar que los medios informen al pueblo con la información correcta.
So similar to what happening stateside, right?
Correct.
There is an attack on the press, and the force of what can be given to the public. So as it's happening stateside, it's now also
It's
happening to a colony
Yep.
of the states. So, and for those who don't understand, Puerto Rico is very much a colony of the United States. Continue.
Vamos a leer. Bajo el mandato de Jennifer González, el gobierno de Puerto Rico pretende imponer su propia acreditación de periodista, una medida inconstitucional que viola el artículo 2, sección 4 de la Constitución de Puerto Rico, el cual garantiza la libertad de prensa sin restricciones gubernamentales. Este intento de censura ya ha tenido víctimas, como el periodista independiente José Luis de Prensa Comunitaria, a quien el gobierno intenta excluir de conferencias de prensa oficiales, incluyendo la entrada a la fortaleza. Esta es una movida peligrosa que busca silenciar voces críticas y controlar la información que llega al pueblo. Pero espérate un momento, Jennifer, yo no sé tú, pero esto es un no para la democracia, ¿ok? Esto parece acciones de un gobierno totalitario, dictador. Pues mira, y para que no digan, esas son cosas de Ricky, pues mira, yo cogí y le pregunté a ChatGPT y le dije, Chat, ¿cómo comienzan las dictaduras? ¿Cuáles son sus primeras acciones? Esto fue lo que Chat me dijo. Primeras acciones típicas de una dictadura: control de los medios de comunicación. Se empieza atacando a los medios críticos, luego se censuran y finalmente se convierten en propaganda del régimen. ¿Quieres saber más si seguimos?
So Ricky goes on to ask, like, as he has pretty much is reporting out, like, the governor has pretty much started censoring who can come to the press pool of La Fortaleza, which is
So
where
now you would need to have like a like they want to create their own certification,
right, which is illegal against the
Yes.
Constitution of Puerto Rico,
Correct.
similar to what has happened here in the States with that man who's in office. But the TikToker Ricky has asked ChatGPT, like, what exactly are the first spots of dictatorship? And Chat tells them it is the censoring of the news, right? First it's the censoring, then it becomes a like prosecution, then it's a full-on takeover, and then eventually those in power starts just pumping out propaganda. And this is why I was saying, Josie, that last political party really bothers me, because it could easily flow into that propaganda part so fast, especially with the use of AI. We've seen it in other stateside elections, right? And so and knowing the demographic of Puerto Rico, of the elders, of how easily
Yes.
it can be forceful into those spaces, it's very important for us to educate, because we are tapped in to educate those above us, right?
Absolutely.
So with that, we have yapped for over an hour, bro.
Yes.
For over an hour.
It's been a lot of yapping.
But this is also what happens when you really love what you do.
You're
and
absolutely right.
And you know, el amor de patria, el amor de cultura, like this is why this pod needs to continue to go, and our voices are so important.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I want to say that you...
Pero si, tiene que ver los listeners para esto.
Yeah,
y
absolutely.
por eso estamos aquí. Like, queremos que nos escuchen, que aprendan y que nos digan qué piensan.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we definitely want to have that engagement.
Absolutely.
Because we really want to hear from you, good, bad, or indifferent, right? Like, do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us, right? Because we're not going to sit
We can still
here.
be friends.
Bueno, it depends, because it depends. And that would be a different conversation.
I need another coffee.
That would be a different conversation. We could be cordial.
I love that.
I can give you cordialness. I don't know about
Love
friendship.
Love that.
You know, you voting against my civil liberties. I don't know how we can be friends.
Wilma. Okay, it's 40 minutes then. We have to go.
You can hold on, wait, before we go, you can follow us on Instagram and the Clock app, right? We're there at Boricua Culture Mix Pod. You can email us at boricuaculturemix@gmail.com, and we drop every Tuesday on Apple and Spotify, and RSS.com.
Yep.
So please, thank you for your support. Thank you for listening at Hour Plus. We love you. Mucho. Besitos. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.